Welcome to the future. Welcome to Bitcoin Victimeros. Good afternoon this Thursday. No, today is Wednesday, March 5th, 2025. How's everything going? Hey, first of all, I want to greet everyone who's in the chat. Familiar faces, Selvi never misses a single day. Geray, Edu, Jose Luis, AXA Coins, Javi, and also, well, a special greeting to everyone who joined us this weekend. With that event, we organized especially with the passenger in Castellón. And well, there was Javi Luis, Miguel Angel, like Javi, Elvi. I don't want to forget anyone, but come on, Giovanny was there. He was the one who organized it, and he is with us today, of course, this afternoon. He's with us. How's it going, Giovanny?
How's it going, Javi? A special greeting to everyone, to the whole community. And I love to start off a bit with spoilers about what we were going to share in the end. So it has been phenomenal.
Then we'll give the details, which is the interesting part of everything that we achieved there.
It's a clear way of saying that it's not just a nice slogan. It means we have a very active community and that we're aligned with our community with many tools. But we're going to show that it's not just a slogan. It's not just a tool like avoid my feedback. But we do a lot more face-to-face with the community. So thank you very much, Javi, for that introduction. That said, as always, please update us on how the market is doing in general. And from there, if that sounds good to you, I'll explain a bit about what kind of tools we have through Bit2Me to take advantage of that kind of information you always provide, which is so valuable, or even to reduce risks, and also to educate ourselves and avoid any uncertainty that the market like the one we might be facing now could bring.
Your advice is always welcome, Giovanni. Ready to get started. So, where are we? We're in an important moment, a lot of volatility, as you know. I've prepared several graphs because I know that many of you at some point, when you see me, just let me know. Hey, Javi, you always talk a lot about Bitcoin. Why don't you talk about other cryptocurrencies? Why don't you talk more about B2M? B2M, we obviously talk about because we have the platform and all the tools that, you know. But today, I want to show you why we've been doing these programs once a month for 2 years now, and what sense all of that has had. Before we start, we're going to share a series of Twitter selections of some of the latest news or the most important events that we think are happening in the ecosystem to share with you and give you a snapshot, as Giovanni mentioned. So a bit of macro, right? So let's go, if you want, with the first graph. Jose, this Giovanni, that you put up a poll, that 72 people have already voted on whether Bitcoin will be a strategic reserve in the United States this Friday at the White House, and 67% believe it will, while 33% think it won't. For those who don't know, this Friday, there's the first official crypto meeting by a US government, and they've invited Michael Saylor to Brian Astor and others, let's say key figures in the Bitcoin and crypto industry in the United States. Well, at this event, there are speculations saying that they are going to eliminate the gains, to taxes like they did in the Czech Republic. That could be an option. Second, that you can use it as a means of payment in the United States without having to pay taxes. Third, that it could be a strategic reserve. Well, a series of issues that I think could be good news. It's true. And we'll talk about that, Giovanni. That since Donald Trump took office, this man has been giving us a volatility with those decisions and that change of decisions where one day I tell you what the fees are and the next day I tell you that I'm putting them in, then taking them out. We're all a bit confused. And within the crypto market as well, with the announcement of that strategic reserve made last Sunday. But anyway, I'll continue with the graph. If you want, Jose, because I got stuck explaining it there. And on the right side, we have that white chart that comes from the elections in November 2024 from last year. Donald Trump wins the elections. And you can see that the price of Bitcoin skyrockets. And what we see at that moment is that the colored lines, the inflows, the red and pink lines start to show significant volatility. The activity they have at the start, the big whales, what are we seeing in this market that's different from other cycles? That the buyers are not retail buyers. That the price at 100,000 euros or $100,000, the environment we're in now, with 3 trillion in total Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies market capitalization, is not due to people like you, like us, or small investors, It's due to large institutions. What does this mean? Well, the retail market isn't realizing that there's a massive accumulation happening by these funds. Let's go to the next graph. Which shows us several cycles. The performance that Bitcoin has had since the beginning of this cycle, which we could place in 2024 from the beginning, and here we see 3 phases of accumulation. I don't know if we can put it up, Jose, the one with 3 white boxes. That's it. So we have a first segment where, as you can see in the yellow box on the left side, there was a phase of accumulation, a sideways movement in the market. Then there was a drop that was a full-on manipulation, a capitulation from that sideways range, and then an expansion, which is the green square. Let's go to the center. Since they approved the ETFs, if you remember, there was a peak of greed. There was also in March when everyone was already talking about Bitcoin, about the ETFs that were going to take us to the moon, me included. I mean, it was part of the psychological game that these big funds throw at us. And there we have a phase of sideways accumulation that takes us from March to around September, October. And in October, I don't know if you remember, last year there was an important news story about cargo trade in Japan, where the Bank of Japan wanted to raise interest rates. And there was a widespread fear that this would destroy the markets and so on. And there Bitcoin fell to about $48,000, roughly 50, more or less 50,000. And from there, we had that other expansion in the following months that materialized with Donald Trump's victory in November. Then we also have the attack that happened against Donald Trump. If you notice, those red candles, those spikes in the center were on the day he was shot, and he moved his head and got hit in the ear. Then we have this phase of sideways accumulation since the beginning of the year, where we have reached as high as 108,000 and 109,000. And now we have a brutal manipulation of the market with 2 candles, one that occurred on Sunday and another on Monday. The largest candles in quantitative terms, not in percentage, but quantitatively, were $10,000 candles. And in theory, now we would be getting ready, and they have already shaken up the market, getting rid of the people who aren't convinced. The market is also in extreme fear, which we will explain later about what that fear and greed index is.
In fact, look, Javi, precisely, even Gregorio and Severemos, this cycle is turning out to be very different. That's exactly why retail investors are more scared than 7 old ladies, for example. It's aligned precisely with what you're saying, that there's some uncertainty, some fear, and it's an important way. What you're doing here is providing a complete picture so that people can make those decisions, or reduce risks if needed.
Sure. Look, we can know what will happen in the future, Giovanni, but it is true that if we look back at previous events and see the behaviors of this market, we realize that there are patterns that repeat. Within this last year, 2024, we have found this pattern, what could drive us now to 120, 130, 140. Well, it's possible. We would be talking about here until summer. This is obviously not investment advice. I mean, if there are people listening to me and thinking about buying just because of this, then they should do their own research. Although Giovanni is indeed going to give you some tools, some products that we have in B2B developed so that you can make purchases while minimizing risk as much as possible. We would move on to the next tweet. Not only graphic analysis, as we have already seen a bit of the price situation, but also what is happening in the United States, apart from what I mentioned earlier about the White House. Within the United States, many states, specifically 35, have put forward a legislative proposal for Bitcoin to become a strategic reserve within their state. Someone listening to me might say, damn, Bitcoin, always Bitcoin. Sure, but it's just that the most relevant or important thing happening in this sector right now is happening to Bitcoin because they're not making a strategic reserve out of Cardano, XRP, or Solana. It's true that in the proposal or in the tweet or in the message that Trump posted on Sunday, he mentioned them. But there's nothing officially on the table that is under study and that is going to be approved aside from Bitcoin. That's why I'm so persistent about this topic.
Of course. It's Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency ecosystem, and the Bitcoin ecosystem that allows other projects to join in on that. Of all news,
of course, what happens is that Giovanni, like to segment things. I like to explain what's going on. And what's happening is that a strategic asset like Bitcoin is being adopted, but the rest of the cryptocurrencies, whether people like it more or less, depend on companies, depend on foundations, depend on private entrepreneurship, which I think is great for those kinds of projects. But what's the point? That a state or a country or you as a saver, but you might see more incentives in having an asset that doesn't depend on the performance of others and that you know won't be manipulated, and that's why as a state you treasure it. That treasuring XRP or Cardano, which are from companies and foundations, can lead to them manipulating the supply or changing the properties at a certain moment. So I want that to be clear so that when people invest in one or the other, no matter how much we see ISO 2022, and these things that the XRP people always talk about regarding banks, like whether you can make interbank transfers and all that, are actually different things. But I think it makes no sense that, apart from the United States, which may be interested in having exposure or facilitate the adoption of XRP, Cardano, Solana, and all these kinds of products, why? Because in the end, they're made in the United States, right? The famous made in the USA. But what we see here, what we have in front of us, is the strategic reserve of Bitcoin for the state of Texas. And today they are going to issue a statement regarding this issue. So if you have investments or expectations in different crypto assets or cryptocurrencies, you should know what you're doing. We have the obligation, Giovanni, to educate, to provide you with the information that we believe is good. And at Bit2Me, we have Cardano, we have Solana, we have XRP. Everyone is also responsible for what they decide to do. But our responsibility is to provide you with what we believe is the most relevant information so you can make the best decisions.
That's why, along those same lines, we always emphasize the importance of doing your own research and keeping track of the evolution of certain projects. With Bitcoin, it's relatively easy because it's something that's on everyone's lips, from investment funds, big companies, to public institutions like universities. So when we focus on something different from Bitcoin, that's where it comes into play. And you need to be very clear and keep track of those projects, because it's not just that if the price is low, it's an opportunity. No, it can simply be a risk. So that's where what you're saying comes into play, differentiating Bitcoin from the rest of the projects
that go hand in hand with companies or not. Let's move on to the next one, Jose, with Bukele. And what does El Salvador tell us? Well, for those who don't know, the IMF has made a series of agreements with El Salvador to provide loans. This organization was created after World War II, and it's an organization that we don't really know who runs it or with what. Objectives, although if you search for it on Google, it will tell you that it seeks monetary and financial stability. They have made a statement, a preliminary agreement with El Salvador that they published, where they said that they don't want El Salvador to publicly continue accumulating Bitcoin. This is what the IMF said yesterday in a statement. And what did Bukele respond? I put a poll out regarding this. I said, do you think El Salvador will continue to accumulate Bitcoin after the IMF's announcement or threat? And people, well, some people have said yes. About 400 and something people responded. So there was around 35-40% who said yes, 20-25% who said no, another 20-25% who said they would wait, and the rest just want to see the results. And what are we seeing? What has Bukele done? Bukele has announced that he will continue buying Bitcoin, and yesterday in the reserves that he shows every day. He bought 5 units, so I'm happy for El Salvador, for the Salvadorans, and I hope this accumulation strategy for such a small country continues and works out very well for them in the future, which I'm sure it will. And finally, we have what I mentioned earlier. One of the representatives of the United States government, the Secretary of Commerce, basically what he has said is that this Friday it's going to be announced, and it will lead to a meeting at the White House with Michael Saylor and Brian Astro, where Bitcoin will be a strategic reserve. I don't believe anything because these people have been talking about the strategic reserve for a very long time. I also don't see the point in saying it publicly before you've bought what you consider important for the country. But even if they didn't buy what they plan to acquire in the coming years and announced it, it would still be huge news for everyone. It would create volatility in the market. In this case, I think it would be explosive and upward. And that's it. Jose, I'm going to share the graph a little bit to support what he's explaining now in this introduction. So I'm going to hit the share button here. Here we are. And why am I showing you this graph? And why am I being such a pain? And I understand that there are people who say, Javi, you're a pain, but I can't help it. Why? Because I think right. I think so. I'm going to save you time and money. So here we have the Bitcoin dominance market against the rest of the cryptocurrencies. And as you can see here, since 2015, when Ethereum and the ICO started to emerge, there was a huge drop. In the first cycle, okay, that ended in 2018 with the peak Bitcoin. It only had a 36% dominance. Then it bounced back in the next cycle, which was in 2021, when NFTs, play to earn, second layers, and all that kind of stuff started to come out. The altcoins regained some ground against Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's dominance fell again, staying down here for quite a while. Around 40% to 50%, it didn't reach. Higher, from 40 to 48, and since we've been making these videos, where I keep going on about Bitcoin, the dominance hasn't stopped growing. We're at 61.59. But what do you think is going to happen if all this news we are talking about materializes and a country like the United States and then another and another and another start to have Bitcoin as a strategic reserve? What do you think is going to happen with the dominance? Is it going to go up? Are we going to levels of 80, 90%, or is it going to go down? And this is important to understand because just like the reserves, the ETFs are for Bitcoin. It's true that there are Ethereum ETFs, but I'm going to show you the chart of Bitcoin against Ethereum so you can see the performance it's had. I'm going to share it with you here in a moment. Let's see, Ethereum chart. All these things need to be looked at, Giovanni. And here we have a monthly chart. Each candle represents a month. And here we have what I mentioned earlier, the peak we hit in 2017, a first correction that brought us, to these levels where we are now. And in the next cycle, Ethereum recovered, but it didn't surpass its dominance compared to the previous cycle. And since then, we've fallen. Those who held onto Ethereum instead of Bitcoin have lost 72%. The narrative is going to change? No, I don't think it will change. There are going to be more people who understand the importance of Bitcoin as a historical strategic asset compared to Ethereum, compared to Cardano, compared to XRP. Yes. So, when I give you this message, I do it because I feel responsible to tell you that even though there are other projects and people say no, the world of cryptocurrencies is much more than Bitcoin. That's because they haven't studied it in depth. Because the proposal and concept of Bitcoin, it's irreplaceable. But Ethereum, Cardano, and XRP have many more competitors. And that can lead to them cannibalizing each other because in the end, it can be issued by a company or a foundation and they make changes to the network. So I think you need to know that when you make your investment, I'm telling you, if anyone wants to invest in other cryptocurrencies, that's what we're here for, to provide tools that give you exposure to whatever you want to have. But you need to know, or at least from our side, you need to know after being in the market for 7, 8, 10 years, what we think and what we've learned. I'm not scolding anyone, but I think I have to say it like this, Giovanni.
No, absolutely. And thank you so much for giving us this overview. And sometimes even some people can't understand it. They ask us, why don't you talk about B2M? Why don't you tell us about others? The Hawks, as you were saying, some people value it and we appreciate it a lot because it saves us time since many of us can't be there 24/7. And where does B2M come into play? B2M, in a nutshell, is very simple. If you understand what Bitcoin is, the whole B2M ecosystem is the utility token of Bit2Me. What does that mean? That all the operations you're going to do through Bit2Me will give you some significant discounts. A Casbah, some APIs in Bit2Me Air, meaning putting your cryptocurrencies to work. All of this is what B2M does. So, with that being said, let's say that somehow Bitcoin and the major cryptocurrencies are intertwined with B2M because B2M allows you to take advantage of the entire Bit2Me ecosystem to seize those opportunities, reduce that risk, and utilize the tools we have at hand That said, what do we have? It's almost impossible to be watching the market 24/7. And many people, even if they try, are really not at 100%. That said, what do we have? What tools do we have in PME? One of them is to set up a price alert. So based on what you've told us, what we're reading, and what we're hearing, we can set up price alerts. I believe, based on what I've heard, I set a price alert, one or several, whichever you want. So it's quite important to stay aligned with what the market is. In that same vein, we have more tools like Bit2Me to keep us updated with all the most important and filtered news, which is also important because there's a lot of noise and information out there. But also having it filtered in some way, like in the case of Bitcoin, is ideal. Then we have the Academy. The Academy provides us with articles and courses combined to stay aligned and use that information in a safe and responsible way. Also, in the same vein, we have, for example, a Dior course to learn how to do your own research. So by aligning with what we're being told, what we're reading, and what people are saying, we can make better decisions. We also have a great opportunity with very simple tools like constant saving, which is key to really take advantage of it. And how can we do it? With recurring purchases, starting from €1 a day. Oh, you can make them weekly, you can make them monthly, and so far, it's something that has been very interesting. For example, we have, I don't know if you can show us the graph here. In Jose, please. In one line, for example, here there's an example that says, yes, that's right.
Thank you so much, Giovanni.
The one you have here is discover how to take advantage of market opportunities.
In the blog. The one we have in the blog?
Exactly. Exactly. A little further down, it specifically refers to making a daily investment. For 7 years, it has accumulated a total of $2,547, which at current value is $16,354.51. It has had a return of 543.541%. That's just with a daily recurring purchase of $1 or €1. That's an example that we could take advantage of. So it's a simple way to be able to take advantage of us from the market, from the opportunities, and to free ourselves from stress, which is also quite important. There are people who say, I want to start trading, I want to educate myself, and I can become a professional trader. And agreed, perfect. If you don't want to, you have very simple tools. Then, last but not least, you have the option to make them work, to put your cryptocurrencies to work with Bit2Me Air. There are several cryptocurrencies, both that can give you some very significant percentages, or with Bitcoin. That said, let's go back again. And B2M, how can we support ourselves? How does it make things easier for us regarding what we've been talking about? So, for example, if we receive that percentage in B2M, we're going to get an extra 2%. And other alternatives, like we even have the option to lock UDI, the B2M, giving us much higher percentages by locking them for 3 months, 6 months, or even 12 months. We have the flexible and locking option, so we have guides for them. Then I'll give you other very interesting possibilities that we have, so you can take advantage of. In that line, we're also looking to get the most out of Space Center. What is Space Center? It's the loyalty program of B2B where B2M plays a key role, which is the core that is distributed among all our services and products that we have. One of the things that allows you to fulfill missions and earn B2Me is leveling up. And leveling up means, for example, getting a discount of up to 100% on wallet and up to 50% on B2Me Pro, even better returns on B2Me Air. Also, we recently launched the possibility that with stablecoins, the fees are almost non-existent. In some cases, it can be a 100% discount without fees, and others that are very low. Aligned with what I was mentioning, that we have a discount from Space Center. So that's one of the simplest tools. We've broken it down into 3 parts: getting the most out of Space Center, how to make recurring purchases, giving a great example of $1 over 7 years, and what I was mentioning about setting price alerts, using Bitcoin and the Academy, and above all, taking advantage of all this in an educational way and putting it into practice. That's why we often refer to the challenge of living in crypto. This is a good way to actually make it work in your daily life. And then we'll cover a bit more on this topic. Javi, let's continue with our agenda, if that sounds good to you. Do you want something great?
Well, I think you've done a fantastic review of the operational improvements of Bit2Me that we've been implementing and working on for so many years. Sure. For example, the concept of Bit2Me Pay, which many might not know, but it's basically a tool that allows you to transfer crypto between users very easily through your phone, username, or email at no cost. It's a kind of Bit2Me. It's an internal tool that works for both euros and cryptocurrencies, and you can send it to other Bit2Me users for immediate transfers on the website and in the app, of course. On the other hand, there are people who might not know that they can receive crypto from other platforms or external wallets. There is a button called Receive. We choose the network, copy the address, which would be like a traditional bank account, paste it into the provider with whom we are working with cryptocurrencies, and send it. If it is a self-custody wallet, then also a self-custody wallet. We paste the address and we can deposit it. Obviously, if you're using different types of cryptocurrencies and networks, we can use it, for example, on the Tron network or on the Ethereum network or on the Polygon network. And what advantage does that have, or what difference does it make? Well, when you pay the transfer fee, it will be reduced. And in Virtum, what we've done is integrate different networks so you can accept income in various types of cryptocurrencies using all these networks. If you haven't used it, it's pretty easy. It's not complicated. A lot of difficulty. And what Giovanni was mentioning, all these advantages, well, with the Bit2Me card, aside from the cashback it generates based on your level, that's where I honestly see the utility of B2M. In the end, Bit2Me is a token that allows you to level up quickly within Bit2Me. And what's the point of leveling up? Well, to earn more points and to benefit from better rates, advantages, reduced fees, etc. within the platform. That's the ecosystem that has been created. So obviously, the more users that use it, since it's a finite token that gets traded and sold, a market is created there. That's the utility of the token. Future prospects. Well, we've said it many times. Wena, Bit2Me, manages to reach new markets, open through other partners, as we are doing with, for example, BBVA Space in Turkey, and people start to know Bit2Me firsthand, not only in Spain, but in other countries, then the user base will make a sense of all the utility, the structure that has been built with Space Center, that incentive. Grow. So I definitely see a utility for the token. Of course I do. Not so much from the point of view of speculation, which theoretically there's a token economy, that's clear. But of course you depend on the market. What we've done is create a series of tools that have direct interaction. And that's what you can see through Space Center. And when do I think it's going to grow? Well, when there are new users who can access the platform, whether it's through a bull market that attracts retail customers who right now, as I mentioned at the beginning, are out of the market because people, it's only, institutions are only interested in Bitcoin, not so much the average customer, let's say, from the street. There aren't that many people interested in this sector right now, even though we're at the prices we're at. And that would definitely be a trigger for the B2M token to rise. Why? Because there would be more people wanting to have it. And by limiting the supply, plus the tools that Neil explained to us the other day, Giovanni, the ability to do staking and the locking period for 3 months, 6 months, or a year, well, that's what will make it easier. Sorry, not 1 month, 3, 6, and 12 months. Correct? Well, all those issues, what they do for us, for example, is that when we pay with a card, obviously, well, they give us back a higher percentage of what we're paying. If you haven't used it, the card is easy to activate. You can activate it through the virtual service. You just go in, request it, and you can pay with your phone. You can add it to Google Pay, right in your wallet, in Apple Pay, and you'll see the Bit2Me card there. You just bring it close to the terminal, and you'll notice the balance of the cryptocurrency you have, which you can also have in staking on. And there I add Giovanni. The case of currency, Pablo, damn it, the euros, because there are people, well, the EURT, which was the classic one, we have to remove because it's from Tether, and we can't have Tether USDT either. We have USDC and we have EUR. are. Okay? Those are two stable coins. There are people who say, well, if I have the deposit in the bank isn't giving me anything, or they're giving me very little, like 0.5%. Well, with Bit2Me, with these cryptocurrencies, these stable coins, we're offering 1.5%, 2%, and even up to 6%, 7% cashback plus the staking you do while you have it in Bit2Me. So if you combine these two concepts and also have a high space center level with the benefits that B2M gives you, which earn you points, then obviously it's a way to save money. And I was saying, Giovanni, I've calculated that having my liquid savings in euros or dollars within Bit2Me, instead of keeping it in the bank and making payments with the card when I go to buy a coffee or go shopping at Mercadona, I'm saving or getting around 1.5 salaries a year, right? It's very interesting. It's like if they gave you a salary increase all at once, and I think that very few financial companies can offer that.
Totally agree. Look, precisely, Afide, Javi. One of the things you touched on was the MiCA law. We are aligning ourselves with the regulations and guidelines of the MiCA law to have established, like the ones you were referring to, USDT, from yours, Warke, USDDC, they, and all of them, where we actually have up to 8% with stable coins. In fact, we added it just yesterday. Web with up to 8% of USDR API, up to 7% of API, and that, up to 40% of API, all that too, as you were commenting. You can even use it directly to that stable coin with cryptocurrencies, as is the case that we have added, and we have been adding practically all those stable coins that are aligned with the MiCA law. We have new lists in which, as you said, we have up to 7% discount from Casbah. And it turns out, in Casbah, depending on your space center level, how can I reach an optimal level? For some users, it might be level 4, it might be level 5. Once again, B2M comes into play. How? Well, if we lock B2M, as I was saying, for 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months, we're going to get double the points to reach those levels and somehow secure them. However, coming soon, as Neil already announced to us, we plan to launch a new feature for B2Me. We continue along the line of creating new things and utilities for B2M, which will soon be B2ME exchanges. Once again, it's a way to level up faster and secure those discounts, lock in those percentages we have.
And then something important, Giovanni, is that all the cryptocurrencies you have deposited in Earn, they are deposited instantly and you can withdraw them whenever you want. In other words, the platform isn't forcing you to have a specific time frame for your cryptocurrencies locked within Bit2Me. Quite the opposite. But if you need to access them for whatever reason, you can withdraw them, send them to your bank, just hit withdraw, and you can empty that pool or those cryptos you've left in stable coins, in Bitcoin, or whatever you want, and take them out. Of course, and it doesn't have any cost. I mean, it doesn't have, sure, it's something very easy to use, very simple, that I think is really good. They were saying, let's say, I also wanted to tell you, Giovanni, what I've been looking at are the updates on the new merchants within the card with that segmentation we do by category based on whether it's entertainment, sports, food, etc., to see the new offers we have within Bit2Me card for making payments. I've seen Cinebox for going to the movies. I've seen restaurants. I've seen clothing stores. I've seen electronics. So you also have additional cash back on top of what you get from the Space Center level combined with the specific merchant you're going to pay at. So, well, these are
advantages that I think are interesting to always remember, precisely what they were mentioning, that I see, in fact, we are giving much more visibility to our token, our native B2M token. Now, for example, directly from the app, you can see a lot more information, including the circulation we have of B2M, the locked ones, the redeemed ones, and we are also making some quite interesting improvements, like with B2M Pay, where we've improved payment control with a more detailed description. What is B2B Pay? Basically, it's the sending of cryptocurrencies between users of the platform. They are completely free and instant. We've also improved the inquiries because one of the main questions we usually get is about deposits and transfers. Now we have a price screen that has been enabled so you can see correctly what we're doing at all times. We've added how to share our crypto address in a super easy way to send those funds somehow. Through, for example, if a user needs that address, you can do it via WhatsApp, social media, and so on. We also have a new search feature in the app, and all of this is thanks to enhancing the entire ecosystem we have for B2M.
Which is no less important, we've made some good significant listings in Wallet and Bit2Me Pro. We have in Giovanny Sonic USDR, and then the R, which is the new stablecoin linked to the euro. On the other hand, we have within Wallet and Pro Reform DAO, USDR, EURR, Cetus, Anon, Toshi, Pi, Benice, Token, DEX, Veracane, BTHO, Cookie, Swarm, ACX, BO, Kaito, and others, and then deposits and withdrawals for Peak, native networks of Polix and AKT. If any of you also use Victim and Pro, which would be the high-frequency trading platform, well, there we are also adding. The advantage is that the fee is much more competitive.
Totally, in fact, whenever they ask us, well, what other types of cryptocurrencies are there? Lately, we've been focusing on the coin of the month, and this time it's HADA, the low token. It hasn't been one of the cryptocurrencies with the best performance this month, driven by rumors of TF linked to the token and so on. So it has seen a growth of almost 8% in the last month. That's what we're doing. So take advantage of the B2B app, both in the web version and in the app version, to see precisely the updates we have from B2Me. As many users have asked us, what we do is a little summary of what we've done during the month and even the promotions we have active. One of the promotions we have active, let's go back a bit to B2Me. We're giving away 1 million B2Me. We have already surpassed 100,000 B2 holders, and it's something historic. We've even wanted to share it with part of the community. We'll go a bit in that direction too. And how do you participate? What is necessary? First, you need to sign up on the promotions landing page, which you can access from the app, from the blog, or we will even provide it in the Telegram group. The second part is to hold 10,000 B2M in the full terms of 3, 6, or 12 months in a year. That is, in addition to receiving. With those returns, you'll be participating precisely in the giveaway of 1 million B2Me. If you already have your B2M locked in any of these terms, you just need to sign up and trade in Wallet, in ER, in Pro, in Car, or invite your friends with referrals. I mean, practically, all of that, you can do it. You have until March 25 to participate. That is, once again, we are giving vision and we are putting focus on our token with utilities, with promotions, and this is part of the anniversary of the B2Me. And precisely celebrating that we are already more than 100,000 B2M holders, and now we can see it on the website in a more...
Well, remember, you can find it on the blog. If you want to participate, you sign up on the landing page and directly put how to participate. In the promotion for the 100,000 B2ME holders, we have, well, then what you need to do is lock what Giovanny mentioned. 10,000 B2M for 3, 6, or 12 months in earn, and until March 25th. If you do it, you will be able to enter the raffle in this giveaway. So, well, it's very simple. If you trade, for example, 245 euros, you have 146 shares. You can find all the details on the blog. And if you have any questions, as always, the entire support and customer service team is here to answer your inquiries. Even here, if you have any live ones, we can see it. If you haven't seen it, you didn't know it. We can study it. We can, well, take a look. And what else do we have, Giovanni? We have, well, then, the communication, right? We have corrected, and we had a fantastic event that I kind of spoiled a bit, but we can talk about it.
Before that, I even participated in an event that we had with Fastcaster, where we were precisely aligning in some way what is the defense of decentralization and the centralization of how we could somehow fit in and participate in that kind of social networks. We also talked about the press, which is something quite interesting. Let's see if you can share it here, Jose. Look, that image is coming up, the one about Fastcaster, which was one of the anniversaries of the Gen Party. In that line, we were also talking, there were appearances on the topic as well. In February, we collaborated with some major Spanish and international media to explain the situation of stablecoins with the entry into force of MiCA and analyze possible movements of Bitcoin and the main cryptocurrencies. In them, you say, for example, you make quite a few references, participating in most of them, like in Cinco Dias, ABC, El Economista, and Cointelegraph. For example, in Madrid, a property valued at 1.5 million euros was purchased with Bitcoin. So we've been precisely in an environment of media to put in context everything that is being done and the progress. And then, as you're saying, go ahead.
No, exactly. The truth is that there is a lot of interest in the media about everything that's happening with all the work that's being done. We're attending a lot of events. The most notable, Giovanny, is that there are a lot of people here from Lost Passenger who joined us, and it was really phenomenal. We were able to grab a drink, get to know each other a little better, even though we've known each other for a long time. But tell them, Giovanny, for those who don't know what Lost Passenger is and what we did this weekend, which you organized there in Castellón with the marketing team, a little bit about what it was all about and why we did this.
Exactly what we were saying, by the way, as you said at the beginning, when we say that Bit2Me listens to you, that we are very aligned with our community, it's not just a slogan, it's something we put into practice. One of the first things we did was Bit2Me Feedback, a tool where you can precisely share ideas, proposals, make comments, and even follow up on all of that, on what the Bit2Me community is really interested in. That said, what's happening? If you have any of those proposals, you can grab the link and share it in the Telegram group so that proposal can be supported. And along the same lines, we've been, just as Javi said, with the passengers. Who are the passengers? The passengers are the ambassadors of the community. They are the voice, literally the voice of the community. They are very critical of the people they are. Beta tester. They have the opportunity to talk with part of the team to convey all those doubts and concerns, those improvements that go hand in hand with the users. So they are doing a supervision, a direct approach, because first they are clients, they are users who are committed to ensuring that the future of their funds, of their assets, is handled in the best possible way, and to provide that feedback, a 100% user experience. Because then also feedback through the tools they have available. And indeed, I had the opportunity to talk with part of the team and with Leif. We directly addressed all those doubts and concerns, and we thanked the team so much because they were available to jot down, to take note of everything they were telling us. They were with part of the marketing team, support with the product team. What for? For example, when they said in the Telegram group, they said, hey, this is happening right on the card. They have always taken notes. What for? To pass that feedback to them in real time, and as has been the case even in person. So thank you very much to all those we've shared with the passengers, with the moderators, and with part of the community. It was also celebrating the 10th anniversary of the Bit2Me. Dear friends of the Bit2Me, finally we are here. And we continue to lead the revolution in concept and innovation. And at the heart, there is still so much to do in the industry. Everyone, please stand up, because that's something that, again, as I've mentioned, they have the opportunity, among other things, to have monthly talks with part of the team and the product team. Even on some occasions like this one, they have been able to share directly in person with you, Javi, and with Lace and part of the team to convey that and engage. So thank you very much, really. In that same line, we are going to have the second introductory talk with Bit2Me. We already have it scheduled for the next March 13th at 6 p.m. Spain time. We are going to provide the link so that you can schedule and continue exactly what we were saying. Because it's super important for us that the people who are just starting out, who have already had some previous experience with Bit2Me, tell us so we can keep improving and reducing things that maybe aren't as valuable as we as a company thought. That is to say, it's like, in quotes, I saw your letter. We take into account precisely the ideas, the proposals, as long as they are constructive criticisms. In fact, something that the passengers do a lot is precisely to turn a baseless criticism or a complaint into constructive feedback to pass it on to part of the team. In this case, Javi, you were present. Thank you very much for giving us an overview.
I'm delighted. In the end, Giovanni, I think that's one of the pillars of Bit2Me. We always talked about the subject of training, the academy, which was clearly part of the way for everyone to know about this technology, but another part that also includes all of Bit2Me, the communications team, marketing, you, Jose Luis too, everyone who works with passengers. The passengers are super involved, creating that environment where everyone who uses this new technology or who invests, and on the one hand, it is something that they don't know or didn't know about and are just starting out and have doubts, that can find a space that helps them, that there's interaction, that there's feedback. I think that's great. And then also people, the truth is that when you have time to spend closer quality time with them, because you realize that there is a fantastic atmosphere and people there. So I hope, Giovanni, that we do more events like this, that everyone who joined us in Castellon this weekend signs up again, and anyone else who wants to
Sign up. And if anyone wants to be a user, Giovanni, from the people watching us, or if someone is interested in learning a bit more about how they can do it. In fact, what I want to comment on is precisely what they were talking about, for example, about a reduction. In the API percentage, like from 12 metathesaurus, in some cases, we've responded that we don't maintain those percentages artificially. That is to say, among the factors that are affected is the demand for cryptocurrencies, the B2M token, how the market is doing, and also some strategies we implement to ensure it's a solid ecosystem. Jose, the demand for cryptocurrencies, the B2M token, how the market is doing, and also some strategies we implement to ensure it's a solid ecosystem. So we have never said that APIs are fixed. They are variable. It depends of many factors. So in response, I think it's united by you. That's it. Whenever necessary, we will adapt. Nevertheless, the highest percentage will always be based on, for example, more will be higher than the flexible blockages, the 3-month blockage, the 6-month blockage, the 3-month blockage, the 3-month blockage, the 6-month blockage, and the 12-month blockage will always be higher. That is to say, you will always have a higher percentage with a PIMA yoke. Along the same lines as I said, we are generating many profits, in which our colleague Neil will soon come to explain to us what we are going to do with it. With the upcoming B2Me exchanges. Now you can help me out too, Jose, because I need it. I would like everyone who holds more than 10,000 B2M to take a look at their emails, as they should have received an email with a survey. What's that survey about? We're talking about what we're going to do with that 10% of those of people who have violated the lock conditions. The questions are, they're two very simple questions. In one of them, it says, for example, to initially do an airdrop. It was mentioned that there would be an airdrop, a distribution with a limited impact. It would be a way to reward those users who have funds locked in B2M, since the B2M obtained will only be distributed among them once a year. In other words, this will only happen once a year. This is about the airdrop. It's something we had in mind, but when it came into play, we had the possibility to exchange those B2Me. So, however, due to the amount of tokens deducted, up to this point, you will see that it's a very small amount. Right now, the people who have withdrawn the locked B2M, violating the lock conditions, is a very small number, so it would hardly have any real impact on their balance. The number of people who have withdrawn the locked B2M, violating the lock conditions, is very small, so it would hardly have any real impact on their balance. Okay, so the other option we've put forward is burn. That's exactly it. We're going to exchange, and then there's an action called burning. And what is a burn? It's a permanent reduction of the B2Me supply. In fact, in the chat, I've seen that some users, in the same way that it happened when we were talking about the burns, I was interested in this. So some users have asked us why this survey seems biased. No, it's not. It's just that we have the option to choose. Go to the email. What's this about the burn? Permanently. Remove these B2M. It would reduce the total amount of tokens in circulation. This new mechanic would apply a monthly burn of all the funds raised, which could be followed publicly through the B2M token website.
Well, perfect, Giovanni replied. I think it's pretty clear. And well, if you have any specific questions about the percentages, the modifications, and so on, we have a section where we explain the adjustments that are made. Also, when you make the deposit, there's a little symbol with the letter I for information, which tells you that it changes based on liquidity, the number of people, etc. But anyway, you explained it wonderfully, Giovanni. I want to thank you all for being live. The truth is, the hour has flown by. You've shared a lot of valuable information, especially you, Giovanni. You know, I focus more on other things. And nothing. I want to thank you all for being live once again. And we hope to see you next month when we organize more events. If you have any questions. Well, you know where we are. We have that Telegram group to lend a hand to you all live. The whole team is there and nothing. Leave you a huge hug and thank you again that
You're here, Giovanni, you too, Jose, and hey, fantastic. Thank you so much, especially to the community, to the passengers as spokespersons, and some of you we will see next Thursday at 6 p.m. Anyone who signs up is super important. This is not a commercial talk, but an interactive one. It will be important for you to have your microphone on so we can hear you. Once again, it's not just an Erlogan, as I mentioned.
we just conducted a survey and now it's closed, asking whether you prefer an airdrop or a burn, and people are responding. Let's see what he responds. Let's give it a minute, Giovanni, because the two concepts are clearly different. One of the tools that is being worked on and that Neil briefly mentioned is the possibility of buying points with Bit2Me, and those points you buy would be through a utility but couldn't be reused. I think that's interesting. In the end, a net drop would involve taking tokens from the reserve that Bit2Me has and distribute it among those token holders who already have an amount. So there are two functions that can be combined, which are different, but both are interesting, right?
Correct. The thing about the airdrop was something that was proposed before the possibility of the Bit2Me exchanges existed. As you're saying, people are here voting. We already have.
It seems that the burn is winning by a landslide, Giovanni. Hope we take on the challenge. And of course, we share this with the development team, the communication team, the marketing team, the product team, and of course with Neil, who has the final say on all of this. So, hey, it's been a pleasure, Giovanni. I have to join another video call now. But again, I want to thank everyone who has been live, and a special hug to all of you we saw last weekend. And as always, leave a like here. Giovanni, we'll see each other very soon. Jose, a hug, and thank you so much. Bye.